News is out. I'm officially heading to Canberra to play for the UC Capitals this WNBL 2025-26 season. You see the Instagram announcement and the celebration, but what you don't see is the waiting, uncertainty, and all the decisions behind the scenes. And as overwhelmingly supportive as most people are, the question I've been asked the most is, not surprisingly, why Canberra? So today we're diving into that question from a more educational standpoint for you by answering the question, how do you decide on what team to play for? I know a lot of you also will come across this in your basketball journey, so it's really important stuff, and I'm excited to share my thought process with you and hopefully help you when the time comes make the right decision for you. Hey there, I'm Teige Morrell, professional basketball player, coach, and your pro ball buddy, here to mentor you through practical advice and mental strategies for basketball success. Whether you've struggled along your basketball journey or simply want to reach your full potential, you're in the right place, because it all starts, you guessed it, with your mindset. So let's train your mind like you train your body. Let's show up, get better, and become the kind of player and person you were made to be. You in? Let's get it. Let's start with the honest part. Breaking the news about leaving Perth is hard. I think this is actually one of the hardest parts of the job. Being a basketball player, married to a basketball coach, being the daughter of a basketball coach my whole life, I'm very familiar with the uncertainty and really just nomadic sense of approach to living we have to take. And yeah, it does add an extra layer of challenge to relationships and building community. And in the same breath, also gets credit for some of the amazing people in our lives. Ultimately, you gotta do what you gotta do, and your real friends and fans will understand. And although you never have to explain yourself to others, you do need to be able to explain your decision to yourself, because in order, I believe, to feel good about a decision, you ultimately have to know that you've made it in alignment with your values. And if you stay true to your values, that's what you have to stand on no matter what, even if things don't go as planned. You might hear that referred to as like knowing your why. Why do you choose what you choose? So yeah, it's really important. And I knew this decision would impact a lot of people. Obviously, it's a big life change, moving, picking up my family, and largely, a lot of people in WA basketball community are a little bit sad to see us go. And it's really bittersweet for us as well, because we have grown to love this community so much, but we know our why. And you get to hear today the tactical side of being a professional basketball player and what the decision-making process really involves. And over on the gram, I asked for your questions over the weekend, and y'all have got some great ones. Seriously, I'm so impressed by your thoughtfulness and really appreciate your participation. I've got some tips for younger players and families navigating the system as well. And at the end, we'll do like a rapid fire Q&A. But I thought this question in particular would be the best to focus on for this episode, which you heard in the intro, and that is, how do you decide on what team to play for? So what should you consider when choosing a team, a club, a university even, for those of you wanting to play college basketball? Well, at my level, there are three main things I seriously consider, on top of obviously what aligns with my values and is best for my family. So number one, the coaching. Number two, the team/roster building. And number three, the organization. So for number one, considering the coaching, some questions you would ask are, am I going to grow while I am there? What is the player development like, and how can they help me get better? This was actually a huge selling point for me with Canberra. Coach Paul Goris, also referred to as Gauze, he has this vision and reputation of player development that was really impressive to me. And he directly contacted my agent and then set up a Zoom meeting with me where he shared his strategy on working with players and on specific ways he would help develop my game. That conversation obviously went really well. He was clear in wanting to continue to build upon my strengths, but I really feel like he shared the same vision as me in regards to the player I still dream of becoming. So that was really exciting for me, and that's exactly what I mean for you, is like, if you're ever making a decision to go somewhere, make sure you are really excited to work with the coach. Gauze also shared his vision on the team building side of things, which is the second thing I recommend considering when choosing a team. Ask the type of questions like, what is the roster going to look like and how do I fit with that? Having a role handed to you on a silver platter is never the goal, but you do want to see a roster around you that you think you can be successful with. So is the roster good enough where the team will be successful? Are the players a good fit with you? And this takes being honest with yourself and knowing the game as well, but some really, really important things to consider. And like I said, Gauze shared his vision on the team building side, but it was something I also was prepared to ask directly. And this is definitely okay to be straight up with the coach about and ask for insight on this. Like, literally, I had a little notes sheet on my phone and I went and dug these questions back up for you. So some of the questions that I had written down before meeting with him include, how would you plan to use me and other post players? What was roster lacking last year? What do you want the roster to look like this year? So again, that's just a really good example for you of like what sort of mindset I had when considering the team that I wanted to play for and talking with coaches and sort of just getting the vision that they have and how I would fit into their system. So I think it's really important to have those conversations and ultimately also like have the open communication with your coach from the very beginning. You guys know me, I'm very relational, but if you're a part of a team, like I think you'd agree it's really, really important to be able to feel comfortable to have conversations with your coach at any point. And so if you can't be honest and open about this, then it's going to be really hard to continue through a season having those questions bounce around in your head and not being able to actually approach the coach and talk about everything that needs to be talked about. So it's really important to set the stage and know what you're signing up for in that way. And the other part of this is like, I think everyone tends to kind of ask questions about the roster from a standpoint of, and maybe not everyone, but a lot of times, like it'll be from that standpoint of what will I get? So you might even be listening to this and think like, oh, she's talking about like what her playing time is. I would actually encourage thinking more along the lines of, are there players I'm excited to play with? So am I excited to work with the coach? And am I excited to not just go to work with these players every day? Because this is a job. Like this is what professional basketball is. It's our job. We go to work with each other every day. But like, do our skill sets complement each other? So not only am I looking forward to the teammates that I'm going to get to train with every single day and go to work with, but I'm also looking forward to the fact that I know our skill sets complement each other really, really well. And I think it's super important to take that all into consideration whenever you're choosing your team. And the third thing to consider when choosing a team is the organization. Are they well organized and professional? How are the facilities? What is the day-to-day process going to look like with strength and conditioning, the support staff, recovery, scheduling, all those logistical things? Even in the professional world, and I'd say predominantly out of Europe, you hear the nightmare stories sometimes where clubs treat players really horribly and just like don't actually care. So it's important to ask questions like, is this a club where I will actually get paid on time, and will they honor the contract? I believe Australia is much better. Australia is probably more about whether things are going to be well organized. And a simple way to find out what you need to know is by asking previous players. Like, it's super easy. Most players will be very, very honest with you. From the college standpoint, that's a whole nother story. Gets a little bit more complicated because returning players might have to, say what the coach wants them to. But there's always a possibility of doing your research and finding out what the organization is like by asking previous players. And maybe in that regard, it's, not necessarily getting input from the players that are like recruiting you and like on the recruitment trip with you, but also maybe the alumni and what their experience was. There's a lot of change sometimes with universities from year to year, so this can be a little bit just more challenging, like I said, from the collegiate standpoint. But whatever you do, just make sure you are doing your research. Now, I do want to take a moment to speak directly to my young players out there and any parents who are listening, just as some general advice. So truly, there's no school, no club, no team that is absolutely perfect, and I just caution you on the grass looking greener on the other side mentality. With these 3 considerations, I'm really talking to those who are in the recruitment phase of their basketball journey. So like the college athlete or the professional. If you are being recruited by other clubs as a WABL or domestic player, for example, here in Western Australia, and yes, I hear about this all the time, unfortunately, this is extremely inappropriate recruiting, in my opinion. Other clubs may come up to you promising more playing time or bragging about how their club does this and that better. And I'll be completely honest with you, those cases are very frequently nothing but a bunch of nonsense. And like I said, you should keep in mind that the grass is not greener on the other side. If you are a family in a situation like this where not everything is perfect at the club you are at or the team you are playing for, and someone tries to recruit you to their club sort of based on this, there are usually even more problems at the other club than your current club. It's easy for them to say whatever nonsense they need to promise you that everything will be perfect at their club. But I personally think that that is a negative reflection on their character, because it truly is inappropriately recruiting minors and exploiting families that have never been through a recruiting process. But truly, that's a whole other episode in itself. I just needed to include that here because it is kind of related, and I know the question that formulated this entire episode could have actually been angled more toward a junior basketball player than the angle of how I personally go about deciding what team to play for. So I hope that is somewhat helpful for someone out there. But all of this is also true for me and the college or professional recruitment. Like I said, college gets a little bit more complicated, and definitely do your research as much as you can. I have to do my research as well, and I have to be careful that what I'm being told is true. The difference is I'm a grown adult who is going to look at decisions professionally and rationally, and I am someone like most pros who has a lot of life experience in the basketball recruiting world, as well as people I can reach out to and fact check with and get references from that are really unbiased regarding my recruitment to any club or organization. So if a coach sounds great and promises all sorts of things, but the references when you ask around and do your research about the coach or organization, if they don't match up, well, I would encourage a lot more caution in saying yes, and maybe it's actually not the place for you. Or maybe you at least know now what you're really signing up for, and you go in a little bit more educated on what you might really experience. Unfortunately, like I said, this gets even more complicated on the college basketball side of things, which I have an episode lined up for you all about that already, but hopefully this is a good starting point on what to consider with college recruitment too. Okay, so rapid fire Q&A now. Like I said, thank you so much for your questions, you guys. Obviously, it's what populated this entire episode, and I'm so excited to dive into the other questions. So here we go. What is free agency? What a great question. Okay, free agency is the period of time where free agents are recruited. So what are free agents? Free agents are any players that are not signed anywhere. Essentially, like anyone not signed on a multi-year contract. Okay, those are free agents. And for example, I was a free agent this year, and any free agents can be recruited and signed by other teams or even back to their team they were currently with and not on a multi-year contract with. So that's what the free agency period is. And there are also rules around this in terms of when teams can contact you. As soon as the free agency period starts, they're allowed to start recruiting. And so, yeah, that is what free agency is. And how long did you wait before getting the call to Canberra? Like I said, Gauze emailed my agent and it was within the first week of free agency. So I didn't wait that long, but I guess the lead up to the free agency period did feel like forever. Okay, next question. What happens while you wait for an opportunity? Yeah, I guess that kind of goes into that question in terms of like, it felt forever with the waiting on the free agency period to start. It's honestly just waiting and like a lot of conversations with my agent and my husband to make sure we're all on the same page. And then of course there's the staying ready, which I also believe leads into the next question nicely. So does NBL 1 help you feel ready for WNBL? Absolutely. I mean, especially this year, the NBL 1 West has just amped up in terms of the competition level. So it's really great. And I love getting to stay game fit all year round. Next question. How do you deal with the fear of starting over? Oh, wow. Such a good question. I'm sure there's some of you out there, like I said, who are going to come across dealing with change and dealing with the decision making along your basketball journey. So I don't know. This is actually so hard to answer in a rapid fire version, but honestly, my faith really, I don't go anywhere that God's not leading, and his perfect love casts out fear. And I really, just trust that when he leads me into a place where I'm starting over, then like he's got good plans for me. So yeah, that's my answer to that. Were you nervous to say yes to Canberra? I don't think nervous is the right word, but kind of like I started the episode, relationships and the potential of making people sad is the hardest part for me. So I guess I was technically nervous for the announcement to go live. Yeah, like I said, that's always kind of the hardest part, but free agency can definitely be nerve-wracking. You just have no idea what's going to come of it or if you'll even have a job by the end of it. So yeah, that part is very nerve-wracking. Next question. What role did your faith play in your decision? Yeah, okay. I was actually just about to say my faith also helps ease my nerves in that regard too, because I ultimately trust that God is in control and already knows if I'll have a job or where that job will take me and my family. So truly, I don't know, I just couldn't imagine doing life and basketball without faith and trust in God with all of it. So yeah, with this decision specifically, it is not a light decision at all. And yeah, I've been praying nonstop since the end of last WNBL season, because God promises that if we lean on him, he will direct our paths. And I just absolutely hold on to that promise with all my heart. All right, cool. Yay. Amazing. Thanks again for your questions. That was so fun. But I just have to throw in this little plug. If you want to keep building your game and mindset with me, be sure to grab my free That Finishing Touch mini course, which includes the Setting Goals Like a Pro worksheet linked in the show notes. Guys, it's the exact goal setting reflection I use in my off season to stay focused even when things are uncertain. And I really believe it will help you reflect, set your goals, and move forward with clarity, just like I do in the lead up and throughout the free agency period even. So if you want that clarity, you want that understanding, you want to know exactly what to focus on during your off season maybe, or your waiting period, please, please, please waste no more time. Go check out the link in the show notes. And I can't wait to see you in the course. Also, if you know a teammate or family who needs help on their decision making, I would really love if you could share this episode with them. And I guarantee you they will be grateful and love that you share it with them too. Once again, thank you so much If you are someone who's a friend and fan in the WA area, I just want to shout you out and say I love you back and I will miss you. And I'm really looking forward to closing out this NBL 1 season with a bang and going out strong and just, taking in all the incredible relationships and people in our lives. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful for you being here. And I really hope you found this helpful or inspiring. So let me know if you did. That's a wrap for today, friend. I hope this episode gave you something to think about and something to take into your next workout, practice, or game time. If it hit home, will you do me a favor? Share it with a teammate you care about. And I would love it if you could leave me a review to let me know you're listening and help us reach even more athletes just like you. If you haven't yet, be sure to hit follow so you don't miss the next episode. And you can always find more tools and encouragement at proballbuddy.com. Remember, greatness starts in your mind, and you gotta fall in love with the process of becoming great. So keep showing up and have patience in the process. I'll see you next time.